The room wasn't supposed to mean anything. It was just a hotel room. Neutral walls the color of something undecided. A single lamp casting a soft amber halo. Curtains half drawn against a city that refused to sleep. The window hummed faintly with distant traffic. The sound of lives moving forward without pause. We'd booked it without thinking too hard. The way you do when exhaustion outweighs caution. One night. 2 beds. A long day behind us. Nothing symbolic. Nothing dangerous. At least, that's what I told myself as the door closed behind us with a quiet, final click. We were friends. That was the rule. The truth. The safest version of us. Friends were predictable. Friends were explainable. Friends didn't ruin things. He dropped his bag near the door and laughed, a low, familiar sound, glancing around the room. "Wow," he said. They weren't kidding about cozy. I smiled automatically, leaning against the desk, watching the way he moved. Comfortable, unguarded. I'd known him long enough to recognize the rhythm of his presence. The way he filled a space without trying. The way silence never pressed awkwardly between us. That was the dangerous part. Silence had stopped being empty between us a long time ago. Silence had learned our names. "Long day," he said, loosening his jacket, rolling his shoulders like he was finally setting something down. "Too long," I replied, sitting on the edge of my bed. The mattress dipped beneath my weight, grounding me. Real. Ordinary. This was real life, not a moment that asked for meaning. But my body didn't believe that. The air felt heavier than it should have. Or maybe I was just finally still enough to notice it. We talked the way friends do, about nothing that mattered. The trip. The meetings that ran too late. The food that was better than expected. A joke that didn't quite land but made us laugh anyway because laughing together was easy. It always had been. The lamp hummed softly, a barely there sound that filled the pauses between sentences. Outside, a car passed, tires hissing on wet pavement. Somewhere below, a siren wailed and faded. Time slowed, stretched thin like it was waiting for something to happen, or daring us to let it. He sat on the other bed, facing me. Not too close, not too far. I noticed the small things. I always did, though I pretended I didn't. The way his voice softened when the room grew quieter, like he didn't want to disturb the moment. The way his eyes lingered on my face a second longer than usual before he caught himself and looked away. The way I kept tucking my hair behind my ear again and again, a nervous habit I refused to acknowledge. I stood to pour water from the small bottle on the desk, grateful for the excuse to move. My back was to him, and I could feel his attention like warmth between my shoulders. Not intrusive, not heavy, just present, like he was aware of me in a way that went beyond habit. "Are you okay?" he asked. I nodded, lifting the glass to my lips. Just tired. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. When I turned back, he was watching me with a seriousness that made my breath catch in my chest. Not desire, at least not openly. Not the kind you could easily name. It was something quieter, something heavier, the kind of look you give when you're thinking too much and feeling even more. We had crossed miles together as friends. Long drives with windows down and music low. Late-night conversations that drifted from jokes into confessions without either of us noticing the transition. Shared disappointments, shared victories. We knew each other's histories, the parts that shaped us, the scars that didn't show unless you looked closely. That kind of closeness doesn't stay still forever. Shift, deepens, waits. I sat again, closer to the edge this time. Our knees were a careful distance apart. Measured, intentional. The air between us felt charged, like the seconds before a storm breaks, when everything goes quiet and expectant. You ever feel like some moments are fragile? I asked, surprising myself with a question. He didn't answer right away. His eyes dropped to his hands, then lifted slowly back to mine. "Yeah," he said. "Like if you move wrong, they break. Or change," I added softly. His gaze met mine. Held it. "Change isn't always bad," he said. The words settled between us, heavy and deliberate. I wondered if he felt it too. The sense that the night was narrowing, that the space for pretending nothing was happening was shrinking by the second. The room felt warmer. Or maybe it was just me. I leaned back against the headboard, drawing my knees up slightly, seeking comfort in a posture that made me feel smaller, safer. Without realizing it, he mirrored me, shifting until he was leaning back as well. Quiet symmetry. An unspoken alignment. We didn't touch. That was the strangest part. Everything in the room seemed to pull us closer. Shared space, shared history, shared exhaustion, but restraint held us still. As if crossing that final inch would rewrite something neither of us was ready to name, let alone live with. He exhaled slowly, rubbing a hand over his face. "You know," he said almost to himself, "I've never wanted to mess this up." My heart thudded painfully, loud enough I was sure he could hear it. Me neither. The admission hung there, delicate and exposed like glass. I laughed softly, not because it was funny but because it was too much. Because if I didn't release the tension somehow, I might drown in it. He smiled in response, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Friends can feel things," I said carefully, testing the words like they might shatter if I pressed too hard. "Yes," he agreed. "They just don't always say them." The lamp flickered slightly, then steadied. I imagined the room shrinking, walls closing in until there was only us and the space between our breaths. He stood, breaking the moment, and crossed to the window. He pulled the curtain aside just enough to let the city lights spill in. Neon reflected faintly against the glass, outlining him in soft color. He looked different like that, familiar and suddenly new. I watched him like I hadn't allowed myself to before. When he turned back, his expression was softer, open in a way that made my chest ache. "I don't want tonight to be something we regret," he said. "Neither do I." And we meant it. That was the problem. We were careful with each other even then. Especially then. Instead of sitting on the bed beside me, he lowered himself to the floor, his back resting against the mattress as if even gravity had been negotiated carefully. It was a small choice, almost invisible, but I noticed it immediately. The way he created distance without making it feel like rejection. The way respect, when it's real, doesn't announce itself. It simply moves quietly into place. That decision alone said more than any confession could have. For a second, I stayed where I was, seated on the bed, watching the top of his head, the gentle rise and fall of his shoulders as he exhaled. I wondered if he was giving me space to decide, or if he was steadying himself, anchoring something he didn't trust to remain calm. I didn't want to tower over him. I didn't want the imbalance. So I slid down too. The movement was unhurried, deliberate, as though my body knew this moment required care. The carpet was softer than I expected, muted and warm beneath my palms. When I reached the floor, our shoulders were nearly aligned, almost touching. That word, almost, had been following us for months. The proximity was unbearable and comforting all at once. Like standing close to a fire on a cold night, close enough to feel its heat but not close enough to be burned. I could smell his cologne, faint and familiar, something I'd noticed countless times before without meaning to. Tonight it felt different, sharper, more present, mixed with a clean scent of soap, with something unmistakably him beneath it. I became acutely aware of my own breathing. Too shallow, too quick. I tried to slow it down. I could feel the warmth radiating from his body through the thin barrier of air between us. Not imagined, not exaggerated, real enough to make my skin prickle. Our arms were parallel, our hands resting on the carpet like they belonged to different stories that had somehow wandered into the same chapter. My hand lay inches from his. Inches were dangerous. My fingers curled slightly, betraying me, as if they were thinking for themselves. Curious, uncertain, aching. I told myself not to move. Told myself stillness was safety. Then our shoulders brushed. Just once. The contact was so brief it could have been accidental. A shift in posture. A breath taken at the wrong time. But it wasn't nothing. It was electric. A quiet jolt that moved through me before I could stop it. lighting up places I had carefully kept dim. My entire body seemed to pause, as if waiting for instructions it refused to receive. We both froze. Time did that thing it sometimes does. Stretched thin, fragile, trembling on the edge of collapse. I waited for him to pull away. He didn't. I waited to feel his shoulder retreat, his body adjust, the moment retreat into something manageable. Didn't. Instead, neither of us moved. The contact remained, light, barely there, but undeniable. I could feel the subtle tension in his shoulder, the way his muscles had gone still, not rigid but alert, as if he were listening with his entire body. I was doing the same. He turned his head slightly. The movement was slow, careful, like he was aware that even a fraction too much could break whatever fragile truce we were standing inside. I could feel his breath near my hair, warm and uneven. It stirred something in me that had nothing to do with desire alone and everything to do with closeness. The world narrowed. The hum of the lamp faded. The city outside might as well have disappeared. There was only this. His presence, my awareness of it, the charged quiet that wrapped around us like a held breath. "I care about you," he said. There was no hesitation in the words. No dramatic pause. No attempt to soften them. Just truth, laid down gently and without armor. They landed heavily in my chest. I closed my eyes for a brief second, not because I needed to escape, but because I needed to feel them fully without distraction. Those 4 words carried weight. Not the kind that crushed, but the kind that changed the shape of things. "I know," I whispered. "I care about you too." My voice sounded different to my own ears. Softer. More exposed. It wasn't a confession. Not in the way stories often tell them. There was no declaration of wanting more. No reaching across the space between us to claim something. It was something quieter. More honest. A truth we'd been orbiting for months. Finally acknowledged without being claimed. And that somehow felt more intimate than any dramatic gesture could have. We stayed like that for a long time. I don't know how long. Minutes, maybe. Or something longer that refused to be measured. Our shoulders still touching, our bodies aligned in quiet agreement. No rush. No promises forming in the air. Just warmth shared, silence shared, the understanding that something had shifted whether we acted on it or not. I thought about all the moments that had led us here. The late nights that bled into early mornings. The way conversations had started to linger. The glances held a fraction too long. The jokes that carried double meanings we pretended not to notice. None of it felt accidental now. Eventually, the weight of the day reclaimed us. Fatigue crept back in, gentle but insistent. He shifted first, carefully withdrawing his shoulder. The absence of contact felt louder than the touch itself. He stood and turned toward me, offering a hand. The gesture was simple. "Open." I took it. Just for balance, I told myself, even though my fingers lingered a second longer than necessary. The contact was brief but grounding. His grip was steady, not pulling, not possessive. Gentle. I noticed that too. We separated for the night the way people do when they're trying very hard to protect something fragile. Lights dimmed until the room softened into shadows. Each of us claimed a bed, turning our backs in polite distance, as if space could return us to something uncomplicated. Couldn't. Sleep didn't come easily. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling, tracing invisible patterns in the dim light. The mattress felt too large now, the space beside me oddly pronounced. I listened to his breathing across the room, the slow rhythm of it once he finally drifted off. Every inhale felt like a reminder. Every exhale felt like a question. What would tomorrow make of this? What would we do with what we hadn't done? My heart felt full and unsettled, like it had been opened and left that way. No attempt made to close it again. There was no regret in that feeling. Only a quiet ache, the kind that comes from touching something true and choosing not to grasp it. Nothing had happened, and yet everything had. By morning we would return to our roles. Friends, colleagues, safe labels that made the world simpler and less demanding. We would laugh over breakfast, make plans for the day, Pretend the night hadn't rearranged anything. But it had. That night would stay with me, not because of what we did, but because of what we allowed ourselves to feel. The quiet intensity. The restraint. The truth shared without touch. One night. One room. Too many feelings to forget.